Hey guys, welcome to Rewriting the Narrative. I am here with Meredith. It feels weird to say your full name, but I see your full name on my screen, so it just rolled off the tongue a little bit better. Speaking of rolling off the tongue, we don't normally chit chat on a Monday, but here we are on a Monday podcasting. And reason being, so if you guys live under a rock and missed it, we hosted a webinar last week. It was catered toward coaches, menopause, perimenopause, what coaches need to know, toolkits, all the things we touched on. But we both agreed that we needed Friday morning to kind of soak that in because it was such a good conversation. And it was a late night for us both. So that was also part of it. But here we are recording. I feel like we're both still like riding a high from that experience. Just for us, for you guys listening, like we talk about like education and changing the narrative and, just the coaches that really stepped up and joined us, and not just the coaches but the women for those conversations, and we're there asking questions, and yeah, just the ripple effect, we're seeing it, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I'm so glad that oh man, we probably can't even talk about this today too, but I kind of made a post a little bit about it yesterday. But I was really proud of us for a couple of things. Is one, going ahead and allowing ourselves space on the Friday and bumping the pod. That right there is definitely a moment to talk about, like with coaches. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but it was such a lead up, and I think it's a testament to how much education means to you and I. We want to deliver it well. We want it to be understandable, digestible, but we also, you said it best one time, like we're not going to talk down to people. We want to lift people up with us, and that was one of the things we said when we kicked off the webinar. Is we said this is going to be a high level, broad introduction. Truth be told, any subject that Sarah and I talk about, whether we talk about amenorrhea, we could talk about so many subsets of that. So talking about perimenopause, and then we can't talk about perimenopause without defining menopause, but even through that, like, I think we both agree, like, we could have, and again, not gonna tell people what we're doing in the future, but we could talk about so many individual things, and we should. But we started the webinar by saying that this is a high level webinar and it is geared towards coaches. And that's truly our mission, is that we knew that a lot of coaches coming in, some of the stuff would be a review, but then some of the stuff they would have never even heard of before. And that was important to us because we want to broaden people's lens. Same thing, we also knew that there was going to be people attending that had never even had discussions about women's health, like about what their cycle actually looked like. And so we were really clear when we started it by saying that everybody was in the right room, because regardless of where your experience or has been, you're going to take something away. And if that is the thing, that's the lesson, then we did our job. And I think that, I'm just going to say it, I think we did our job. Like, I was really proud of us. I was really so hyped seeing all the different people who registered, who were able to attend live, even hearing some people's feedback afterwards saying that they registered and perhaps like they were in menopause and maybe they had like their sister or their mom was in the room and would kind of like scoot over and like start listening to us and just be impressed by like, wow, I didn't know that about myself. Like, that's the impact that we want to have. And it was really cool. It was really cool.
And I think that's like our, just a huge part of our like driving force behind even like the other webinars that we've done, like the menstrual cycle 101 and transitioning off birth control. Both of those, like, it was all the information that we wish was available to us, or we wish was talked about, and not talked about from like a beating around the bush lens. I think that's just so many of our experiences is, oh, you have a bleed once a month unless you're pregnant, but don't get pregnant because you'll die, and here's birth control. And that's like the education a lot of times, or and I think fortunately, unfortunately, we do have to go back to that. Like we have to go back to like menstrual cycle 101. Not even seeing that as a going back, because every time you quote unquote go back to refresh yourself or relearn something, you learn something new and you take something new away. It's almost like when you watch a movie and like you rewatch it, a couple years later, and you're like, oh, I didn't catch that last time. Or watching something when you're older and you're like, oh, they were making like sexual innuendos and that was way over my 7-year-old head. But anyway, it got me thinking, that got, I was thinking about the coach that asked, hey, like, I am wanting to learn more and I am recognizing these signs, these shifts of, in hormones in my clients, but I don't really know what is going on exactly under the hood. I don't really understand what these shifts really mean. And I loved that she asked that question of like, where do I start? Like, how do I start learning more? Because I do think a lot of people are in that same boat. And I feel like you had a great answer for her.
Yeah. So I told her, number one, like, use us. This is literally what our mission is we want to help her. And I think too, like, this is like with our group mentorship, which is just so cool because there's so many different coaches with different experiences there. And there's a really cool way of just being in the room with people that have experienced other things and have a different clientele than maybe you'll ever have. But you learn, I learn, and I think that everyone in that group, they learn from each other. Just sitting in the room with people that are doing things that you haven't experienced yet. Oh my God, like such a learning lesson there. But on that note, we get constantly getting asked, like, how can I connect people with you? And, what do you guys do? And Sarah and I want to be super clear that we work obviously with one-on-one clients as far as coaching, but we do offer consulting services. And it's an incredible way, just as, hey, I have a problem, I'm going to meet, with my doctor or something like that. We are not medical providers, but we sit with you for a good hour plus, sometimes a good hour at least, and we go over everything top to bottom to that history. And I think what's even cooler with doing, consulting work with us is it really kind of narrows things down from a broad lens of looking at that full history to, okay, so what is our next applicable step? Like, what can we do in the here and the now? And a lot of people work with us on a consulting basis where they'll have a one-time professional consult with us, and then they will take said information that we provided, run with it in whatever, again, how we've suggested and maybe beyond, and then come back to us to do a check-in again and with another one-time consultation in 3, 4, 6 months. And it's a way that, one, they have their autonomy because maybe they don't need the one-on-one coaching, or maybe we both also do consulting with clients that have other coaches. We do that quite often. And that's, again, a really cool way that we can provide both, coach and client a lot of information. So maybe it's a coach that specifically does strength training or strength sports and is not looking at, doubling down on that hormonal health. I mean, same thing for us. This is where referrals happen. And we are happy to step in as, I'm going to say, the experts in that lane, supporting their clients to ensure their clients have, again, the education and information to make informed decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some calls earlier this year with like pre-prep, like not even prepping this year, but like newer competitors, like coaches wanting to make sure that all kind of systems go for when it is time to prep and diet. Because I know the more of us in the industry are really preaching that message that a healthy body is a responsive body, and taking your time to ensure that, again, like all kind of systems are go, or we do have that we're as robust as possible from a health standpoint before we tackle some big goals, whatever it is, or we go into new chapters of life. I hate that word and saying that I said that, but I don't know of a best way to to phrase it, but whether it's fertility or perimenopause, which is probably, you might be in it if you're listening to this, and you're in our webinar, you probably got that as a big takeaway. But I very much see the relationship as collaborative, and that's the relationship that I value with my own, whether it's coaches, people I consult with about my own nutrition training, but then my providers as well. And that open dialogue and collaborative approach, we are both so big on, because we are both that team player. And ultimately, like, you're in the driver's seat. And I think both of you and I crave that, both personally and professionally, as far as having that collaboration, because we know that ultimately, like, the person has to put it into action, and only you know what's going on between your ears after the call, what's happening, what you're really willing, and able to do. But being able to, like, be vulnerable with somebody and, like, actually have those conversations is really impactful for making serious change. So, like, you might see on social media, oh, you need to work on your gut health, you need to work on your sleep, this and that. But then, like, actually, like, sitting down with somebody to assess, like, what you are going through, what you're trying to do, and help you narrow in on what you need to focus on, and maybe have some of those conversations about willing, won't, able to type conversations can be really impactful. Because, hey, maybe you're not in a place right now where you can work on X. And we could, I know people, and maybe I'll give some examples, like sleep often comes up. Well, maybe you're at a place in your life, where you do have to work night shift, and it's just not gonna change right now, because that's how you have to pay the bills. So we don't need some guilt trippy messages on social media about sleep and to beat ourselves up about the sleep, but we need to take ownership and double down on other areas, like the going out, the alcohol, whatever it is. Having those conversations of, like, I'm struggling to do this, but I trust your expertise, can be really helpful.
Yeah. And, like, to your point about, the sleep and even like shift working and what shift you are working, I also think, like, that's something that we try to be really thoughtful of. Is one, we never want to guilt trip a client of, like, this is the best way, and if you're not doing this, then you're just horrible. That's not us at all. But we also are going to ensure that you have the information, that you understand, for whatever reason, your current situation in your life, maybe risk factors that are associated with that, because maybe that will help you make decisions later on, to where, or you seek an opportunity to get away from shift work, or you now are seeing, hey, you know what, like, I am seeing a negative correlation here, and the life that I want to lead, or the life that I want for myself, maybe right now, like Sarah said, like, you need to do these things right now. But if you don't even have the lens, the scope, you don't even see what's possible, or again, what may be detrimental if we stay in on that path, like, how can you truly make decisions about your future? And that is exactly what we work with the coaches that are in our group mentorship, as far as educating their clients, but looking at whatever client that we are talking about as far as like a case study. Like, you used the example a minute ago about the now, the later, etc., and the readiness. And that's what we work with the coaches on, is if a client is coming to them with, like you said, sleep disturbances, we want to know about what's going on with that client. Talk to us about that human being, as opposed to us, like you said, rattling off all the best case scenarios, half of which aren't even applicable to that person.
I just get so, like, on, like, social media with, like, just, like, all the tips or whatever. There was that one post going around about, like, kiwi fruit and, like, sleep. And everyone's all like, oh my God, kiwi's the thing. It's like, Jesus Christ. Like, really? Like, you really think that's the thing? Like, please eat a kiwi, because I haven't seen a fruit or vegetable in your food diary in, way too long. But, yeah, like, let's not, like, get caught up over, like, hype or just, like, that kind of thing, and be ignoring, like, the bigger elephant in the room.
It's funny, you reminded me of, so I think the couple things, just to kind of take a step back for everybody, is Sarah and I have really come off of this I don't know, I'm not gonna say this climb, but this momentum of doing a lot more speaking. And we had the webinar this past Thursday, but then, previous to that, and she actually mentioned this in the webinar, we did a private guided Q&A for a private gym in New York. And something that we really noticed is, again, when you take people out of this, the Kiwi thing. They're like, oh, Kiwi is like the thing. But then you put them in a group setting. And then all of a sudden, for example, women, because we deal with a lot of women, all of a sudden women are hearing other women think, oh, well, you're feeling that way. You think it's that way too. And I think that's also a really empowering thing that has gotten me really excited. And I know you too, with regards to having these more speaking engagements, is being able to engage with women and take them from this island of one where they're grabbing this quick tip and that quick tip and this thing and thing is that. And then we put them together and everybody kind of hears that everybody's struggling with the same stuff and everybody has the same questions. And it's a really cool thing. Not that they're struggling, but
No, but and then like that, and then you create accountability with that too. Like, okay, like we all got to get accountable to this, or we're all going to call out the BS, together, or not, fall for the next, perimenopause diet or the perimenopause PDF download booty builder, whatever.
yeah.
When it's like, no, girl, like I saw you carry your groceries with one hand. Like, we need to be lifting heavier. Like, let's go to the gym. Let's stay accountable to this, whatever it is. Yeah, I think that Q&A was definitely, I was like, oh, wow, like nobody is talking about this still. And I know, like, and I even relate to this. I've even heard from women that they almost tune out from conversations like this because it does bring them back to when they were really struggling with their health and with how they were feeling physically, and then body image wise, with their performance. And it pisses them off that they were dismissed and they didn't have those tools and those resources, and they didn't maybe know these things or have the resources or tools to make these changes. And as a result, they tune out from conversations around perimenopause, for example, or menopause and how to support your body, and or hormone therapy, etc., whatever it is. And I definitely get that. Like, for just my own experiences, like just being pissed off that like I did the quote unquote damage that I did, with restricting or, over exercise and, being on birth control as long as I was. But it's like, we can't beat ourselves up for that. We can only move forward and we can approach it from that place of abundance. And I think like, again, like staying off social media is really helpful for this, because you see people like, oh, I did this and my whole life changed or whatever. It's like, no, like let's like get outside of social media to learn. Like that coach, like asking like, where do I start? Well, like I said, we have webinars, we have blogs. That's a great place to start. Start with PubMed though, and a pen and paper notebook. Start with YouTube. There's so much information out there, and you don't have to endlessly scroll and like read so-and-so naturopath's 5-step liver detox for menopause and just be pissed off that, this person got this magic result from that, because it's often not reality.
Yeah, I'm going to definitely double down on our mission has been to educate. And so I'm going to just absolutely, I have no shame. I'm going to plug the ever living, what out of us. Go onto our blogs if you're listening to this. Go onto our YouTube. Go onto our Instagrams if you are on social media. We are not up there posting booty and crotch shots. We're posting us lifting heavy, being strong. We're posting education. I'm going to say inspiration, although that's typically unintentional. We're just living in the here and now and doing what we do and living in an abundance and living in messy action, and you get to see that. I'm going to tell you to go to our website, scroll back to the OG blogs. We did literally a series on the entire menstrual cycle, like so much.
Like 101.
Yeah, like we have 2 webinars on our website. I'm telling you, you need to check that stuff out. Any webinars that you see us post, you need to be in, because why the F not? If I was telling people when it came to this last webinar, I was like, if you have a female in your life, in your orbit, like, why would you not share that? Like, why would you not? My biggest thing is too, is like, why would you not give that opportunity to somebody else? Like, maybe somebody doesn't know. It's not that you need to tell people, oh, you have to do this or I'm not being your friend. Like, no. But like sharing opportunities with people and then letting them decide is very powerful, in my opinion. Just sharing is caring.
Or just because you know something doesn't mean you maybe haven't heard it presented a certain way or for a certain population.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. So I think like that's one thing that we're gonna suggest. We get asked all the time, like, how do you get education? Well, guess what? Like, we're leading a charge here, guys. So hop on board, follow things that we're saying, listen to things we've written. We want nothing more than to provide you education. If you are a coach in our group mentorship, they can attest that if we're unfamiliar with something, because maybe it's something that we haven't dealt with in a while, we absolutely will find you the answers. We're not going to blow smoke up your ass about it. We'll literally say, hey, you know what? Like, give me a hot second. Like, I know this, but I really want to make sure I'm telling you things appropriately, because we want coaches that we work with to have the information and not just like, oh, we said this on the webinar too, is there's, this webinar we just gave, for those who don't know, in case you haven't, alluded to that now, is it was about perimenopause and menopause. But something that we said in the webinar was there's a big difference between language and people on social media saying, oh yeah, perimenopause, it's a, transition where your hormones fluctuate. Okay, so like, are you saying that hormones don't fluctuate over like the entire life cycle of a female? Because in case you didn't know, like, that's literally what happens.
Your visuals were like 10 out of 10. Like your graphs, like that is what should be in textbooks, but it's not.
Right? And I think like we are not trying to be language ninjas, but it's very evident to us when we sit back and we listen. There's a big difference between parroting information and understanding it. And I truthfully think that that's what sets us apart, is because we actually want the women, the clients, the coaches that we work with, we really want you to get it. Like, we want you to understand why. And I'm not saying down to this molecule releases that and then this like, I'm not saying that, or maybe, but I think there's a big difference between hormones fluctuate and what's actually happening with regard, like, we talked about a podcast ago with regards to amenorrhea and REDS, and when it comes down to females in sport. And we were like, hey, like, you need to kind of understand like what this actually means, as opposed to, oh, it means she doesn't have a menstrual cycle. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. But what does that mean for her? What does that mean for her now? What does that mean for her later? Do you understand how to have a conversation with that female? What if she's a 17-year-old? What if she's a 22-year-old? Do you understand how to talk to her? And that's what's, I think, that separates us with regards to what we're trying to build here.
Yeah, because I mean, that's what evidence-based practice comes down to. At the center of it all is the person.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to say we are evidence led, because that's like huge. I think that we are evidence led. Absolutely. We have our base, but then we're like, we're going to just take this and we're just going to drag it along with us with some experience here.
Yeah, I do have quite a bit of a PubMed folder going. I'm just going to say that. So,
oh my God. I think the stuff that both of us have saved over our browsers is a little bit insane. I do try to have folders, but I don't know that they're really organized.
No. Is it weird though that like, people read their Sunday morning paper? Like, I love on a weekend just like going down a PubMed rabbit hole. Like, it puts me in some type of like flow state. I don't even know
it is so cool.
Like how to describe it, but I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, it is. I will say that when we are like writing our blogs and going down rabbit holes, like, it absolutely puts me like, I'm so calm, I'm so at peace. It's a good feeling.
That was me in grad school. Like, I would be on, a topic like, whatever it was, like for neuromuscular physiology, which was not my favorite class. But then I would like read something else or like see a cited by and then like just waste so much time going down rabbit holes reading about things that I wasn't supposed to be writing about. But anyway, I'm glad to have the autonomy more so these days to be able to go down rabbit holes that I enjoy and that also benefit, the people that I work with and also get us thinking because any mentor or coach that tells you they know it all and my way or the highway, run, because a lot of things, especially in this space, nutrition, exercise science, have a half-life. A lot of information, like we're always learning new things. There's new medications coming out. We find out, longer term, just data. Like, I mean, women's health for sure. Like, we're just like, this is like the first like real like kind of frontier of more, research on women in the last like decade, but that's still so young in the grand scheme of things.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I fully agree with that statement. So I'm going to just remind everybody, if you are new to us now, or perhaps you've been following along and you're an OG, please feel free to share information. We have so much free stuff. We literally just want to empower women with education, coaches with education, so that we can reach a broader audience. So definitely stay tuned because we have so much coming down the pipeline. Sarah, I'm just gonna have a moment here. Like, I was thinking about, all the stuff we did within our first year. And like, I had a moment this weekend because I realized it's the end of Q2. And I was like, wow, like just wow on all the cool things and the ideas too that we still have that we're like, we have to action out.
I know. And like, it's just crazy that, like, I mean, you said that, and I'm like looking at the calendar. I'm like, year two is coming up, before we know it, as far as like, at least we're doing this, which means that the work started as soon as we said we're doing this. Yeah, like you said, we share inspiration on social media, if you want to call it that, like our personal stuff. I think both you and I have a habit of like not wanting to share until we kind of quote unquote figure it out on our own a little bit. But just know we pride ourselves in walking the frickin' walk. And that does not mean that we do not slip and that we do not fall on our faces and laugh at ourselves, but we get back up and we're excited to continue walking. And yeah, I'm gonna stop rambling, but this was a good recap, I think. And the info on webinar will be up soon on our website. So make sure you're subscribed to our newsletters to get all the good info.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for being on this journey with us.